Start. And good afternoon, producer Susan. How are you doing the day after the eclipse?
I'm doing well, Joe, and apparently so is my dog.
So you know, so
Yes. Did you see the eclipse yesterday?
I did. I had my welding mask, and I looked up through my welding mask at the eclipse, and everything was good. So, um, and by the way, for those, it's so yesterday was Monday was the eclipse. Friday we had the earthquake, which was epicenter was 10 miles from where I live.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like I was in the gym. It felt like a big truck going by. My wife was on the upper floor of the house. It was the upper floor of the house shook a little more. A couple of pictures on the shelf fell over, but it was kind of a non-event basically. So anyway, how
Kind
about
of
by
an
you?
exciting week with between the earthquake and the eclipse.
It sure is. Um, by the way, if any, never mind. I was going to say I'm going to be on the radio tonight in Denver, but nobody will hear this in time, so
You'll
that's all
hear
right.
this.
All right. Oh, by the way, as long as we're talking about, I've talked about this 6 months ago, but as long as I mention the earthquake, I want to quickly revisit the Richter scale. A lot of people think the Richter scale is linear. It is not linear. It is logarithmic. And
Yeah.
what that means is that a 5 is 10 times more powerful than a 4,
hmm
and a 6 is 10 times more powerful than a 5.
hmm
Well, if a 6 is 10 times more powerful than a 5, and a 5 is 10 times more powerful than a 4, that means that a 6 is 100 times more powerful
Yes.
than a 4 because each whole number is a factor of 10.
Yeah.
So as an example, if we had a 4.8, had that 4.8 been a 5, it would have been 3 times as strong. That two tenths would have been a tripling of the power. So that's just a little bit of scientific trivia.
And meanwhile, people in California were laughing at us
Yeah, people in California will laugh.
because they don't
Although
even get out of bed for anything
about five and a
under
half or
five.
something. Right.
Yeah.
All right. But by the way, something in the north, because the Northeast has such a solid rock shelf uh, under our soil, it was felt as far away as my sister in Rhode Island felt it. In California, because
We
they
felt
don't
it
have,
here.
I'm sorry?
We felt it here in central
Right.
Pennsylvania.
So the whole Northeast has a really solid continuous rock
Mhm.
underneath. Out in California, they don't have that continuous rock connection, so the shock wave does not move as far in California to Nevada.
Mhm.
All right, so you want to hear what we're going to talk about today?
Yeah, what's on the agenda?
Well, you know who Mahatma Gandhi is?
Yes, he was a civil rights activist.
In India, that helped
Yeah, in
lead,
India.
got India free from British rule. So our quote of the week is from the late Mahatma Gandhi. In our stupidest thing I've heard all week, we'll tell you about a group that is advocating tax credits for people who are paying more than 30% of their income for rent. And I'll tell you why that's an incredibly stupid idea. We'll tell you why becoming a porch pirate is one of the fastest growing career choices in this country today. Um, and we'll update you on the unrest that's taking place in Haiti. Have you heard about the unrest in Haiti?
I feel like unfortunately there's always some unrest going on in Haiti,
But
unfortunately.
in the last month or so, it's gotten bad. You've got gangs
Yeah,
running the country. People are
yeah.
fleeing in boats.
Mhm.
There is no more government. It's just
Yeah.
descended into turmoil. And we're going to compare Haiti with the Republic, which, by the way, they share the same island.
Yeah, and
Um,
not a very big island either.
not a very, it's about the size of Pennsylvania. So we're going to compare Haiti with Dominican Republic. Um, we call this the situation with Jerzee Joe. It's news and perspective that you won't hear on TV. A story you didn't hear on TV that last week in Ohio, another American was murdered by another illegal alien. Remember 3 weeks ago, we talked about the girl in Georgia that was murdered by
Yeah.
an illegal alien
Yeah,
who'd
that
been,
that was that made national news.
that one did that because maybe it was a woman. Well, this time it was a guy. And again, in the case of Georgia, the guy had been deported multiple times and, arrested multiple times. Same thing here. We'll tell you the details. But for some reason, this murder didn't make the national news, and we'll ask why. Came across an interesting stat. Over the last 25 years, dramatic changes in pregnancy rates by age groups. It used to be a time when, a lot of teenage girls were getting pregnant and
Mhm.
most women were getting pregnant in their 20s.
Mhm.
That's changed, and we'll tell you how
Yeah.
it's changed. Have you heard about any of those stats?
Yeah, I have, but I kind of feel like that's old news unless you got something new to add.
Well,
Maybe
I've
it's
got some
just
updated news from, I believe it's from the CDC.
Okay.
Well, I think you and I have talked about this. We're going to talk about how much a dozen eggs cost in California,
Oh, yeah.
and we'll tell you why they're so expensive in California compared to other
Mhm.
places. And time permitting, I doubt it. I'm still but trying to get to the second half of that clip about the teachers talking about
Oh, yeah.
unteachable kids.
Yeah.
And last but not least, our taxpayer relief shot comes to us from Cobb County, Georgia, where a stupid, now deceased thug picks the worst possible business to try and rob at gunpoint. And I'll let you try to guess what type of business he tried to rob. Anyway, so here's our quote of the week from Mahatma Gandhi, who said, remember, he was a peaceful activist. He was kind of like Martin Luther King. No violence. It was
Yep.
always
Yep.
peaceful resistance, sit-ins. He said, strength does not come from physical capacity. It comes from indomitable will. Had you ever heard that before?
Yep. Yep. And very true.
Very true. So again, one more time, strength does not come from physical capacity. It comes from indomitable will. And
Mhm.
wow, that's a really powerful statement. Um,
Mhm.
and you look at, how much has been accomplished in this country, not by violence, but just by, sheer will and persistence. All right. So you want to hear the stupidest thing I heard all week?
Yeah. What's the stupidest thing you heard this week?
All right. Well, if you go to the Facebook site called Common Dreams, another far left liberal, there's a post there by the administrators of the site that they're advocating tax credits for anybody that is paying more than 30% of their paycheck, i.e., their take home income for rent. Now, let's look at the math behind that proposal. Now, I'm going to have to shortcut this, but say somebody's making $18 an hour, which is $36,000 a year.
Mhm.
And after they pay 7.65, for FICA, Social Security withholding, and another 196 a month in federal income tax, boom, boom, boom. Um, that gives that person a 25.74 per month in that take home pay. Well, 30% of that number is only $772 per month.
Mhm.
Now, I don't know about where you live, but in most urban areas, you can't rent an apartment for $772 per month. Do you know of any place you can rent an apartment for $772 per month in any urban area?
Like in New York City, San Francisco, LA, absolutely not. Around here where I live, yeah, you could find a modest place for
But
$700.
certainly not in Dallas
Oh,
or
no, not in any major
n-
city, no.
no, not not. So again, and they're saying universally. So, but here's the flaw. So right now, that person making $18 an hour, 36 cents,
Mhm.
um, under this proposal, any expense over 772, the government would send him a tax credit. Now, if the government is going to pick up 100% of the amount above 772, why would you limit yourself to a $1,200 a month apartment? Why not go for an $1,800 a month
Yeah.
apartment that's covered parking, outdoor pool, tennis courts, and a rec center? Why would you
Mhm.
stop at 1,200 a month
Yeah, I'd get the luxury high rise with all the amenities.
with all the amenities? So, and by the way, at this point, the tax credit that the person would receive would be more than 2.5 times what they're currently paying in income tax. So they would go from being a net taxpayer to being a net tax receiver. Because right now,
Mhm.
instead of paying 2,500 a month, 2,500 a year in tax or 2,300 a year in taxes, they would be getting 4,600 a year back as a tax credit. So they would be getting back more than twice what they're paying. And again, at this point, if the government's going to pay anything over 772, why would you limit yourself to some
Yeah.
little dinky apartment, run in a rundown neighborhood? Why wouldn't you go for the penthouse? I
Mhm.
mean, so is that
Yeah,
stupid?
and we've talked about this on before, and we don't have an answer from anybody. And I encourage people to give us an answer about what is the word am I looking for? What is a livable wage? So if you're only, that 772, you can buy an apartment or rent an apartment here where I am in central Pennsylvania for that price. And $18 an hour in this neighborhood, you're talking probably a grocery store cashier, Walmart cashier,
Sure.
and so yeah, you can live on a $700 a month apartments. So
But again, if you
what is
right.
a what is a Liz, and again realized that, in New York City, $18 an hour isn't going to cut it.
No,
Also living within your means, and what is a livable wage?
sure. And by the way, and here's another flaw in the system. you know, a lot of people today, in fact, a great many people today are living together
Yeah.
without getting married. Very, very common. I mean, literally millions of people are doing it. So if you are smart, you and your girlfriend, your live-in girlfriend, say you're a couple, you know, say you're a couple, been together for 5 years. You would rent an apartment, but you would only have the lease in one person's name. Now, you're a dual income. So let's say you're each making 36,000 a year. You know, you each have an $18 an hour job. So between the two of you, you're making $72,000, right? And you're both
Yeah.
contributing equal to the household. Well, under this proposal, as long as the lease was in the name of one or the other, even though they had a $72,000 income, they would still look at just the income of the guy on the lease or the woman on the lease, and they would still pick up the difference. I mean, it is so stupid for so many reasons.
Meanwhile, the normal, how it used to be is if you wanted to live in a nicer apartment, you'd find a roommate and, you'd take that
Right.
$1,400, $1,500 a month
Right.
apartment and you'd share it. You'd buy a 2-bedroom
Yep.
and share it with somebody else.
But in this proposal, the government would pick up everything over 772 a month. Anyway, so that's the stupidest thing I've heard all week, unless you've heard something more stupid.
Nope.
All right. So now let's talk about a dream job. Now imagine if you could find a job where you could set your own hours, work only a few hours a day, make tens of $1,000s a month tax-free without the necessity of having a college degree or even having graduated high school. Why wouldn't you quit your 9 to 5 job and start doing that job instead?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you why wouldn't you go to that to start doing that job?
Sounds good. What is it? I'll
Porch
sign me.
Porch Pirate. Let me tell you how prevalent being a porch pirate has become. Thousands have, with hundreds more joining them literally every day. And how fast has that industry grown? Here's a quote from the Link story. This was ABC New York. And this is just, I'm going to start with New York City alone, then to give the national. Here's an astounding number from New York City. The New York City Department of Transportation says 90,000 packages are stolen in the city. You want to guess every week, every month, every year? Or what do you want to
I'm gonna
guess?
say probably every day.
Every day,
Yep.
90,000 packages per day are stolen in New York City. And in case you don't have your calculator handy, 90,000 packages a day times 365 days a year is 32.85 million stolen packages in New York City alone.
And
Now,
guess who pays for that, by the way?
we all do in
We all
higher
do as
merchandise
consumers.
consumers, because it gets the cost of those stolen packages gets built into everything you order. So when you order from Amazon, the cost of those, now that's just New York City. Let me give the national numbers. Estimates nationally are that you want to take a guess how many packages nationally are stolen?
Oh, I am gonna say double that of New York. So if it's
Try try a factor of more than try a factor of 8. 260
Whoa.
million packages are stolen by porch pirates with a value of $6 billion, and that's an average package value of $23. Can you imagine 6 billion $6 billion?
I think we are paying for that.
260 million packages. So that's the hot new career, is becoming a porch pirate. And by the way, in a lot of places, like in California, and if it's under $750, it's not even a felony anymore. It's you get a ticket for it.
Yeah.
So if you're in California, why wouldn't you be a porch pirate? The worst thing, you get a ticket for a misdemeanor, right?
Yeah.
So you steal 20 packages a day, you get caught once, you get a ticket. All right. You want to move on to something more serious?
Yeah. I was gonna say, I was thinking, your Prime membership just went up, and that's probably to cover the cost of all of that.
I wouldn't doubt it at all. And I wouldn't doubt it at all. All right. So at the beginning, we talked about the unrest in Haiti. The government has collapsed. The gangs are literally running the country. All the businesses have shut down. There's no goods being imported. People are scrounging for food. They're eating rats. They're fleeing in boats. They're trying to get now. Haiti and the Dominican Republic are both located on the island of Hispaniola. And the island of Hispaniola is 400 miles long and 150 miles wide, making it just slightly larger than the state of Pennsylvania, where you reside. So can you imagine two countries occupying the state of Pennsylvania. Now, both countries, Haiti and Dominican, they share the same climate, the
Mhm.
same soil, and the
Mhm.
same water, the same, the
Yep.
same fishing water, the same, they've got access to the same ocean. The only thing, and by the way, Haiti, as you pointed out at the beginning, has been unstable for the past 2 decades. For
Yeah.
the past 20, they've had
Unfortunately, yeah.
assassinations and revolts and poverty. Whereas the Dominican Republic has been booming, and for
Mhm.
decades now, the people of Haiti have lived in poverty, experienced sky-high violent crime rates, and continued political upheaval.
Mhm.
Now, no sane international company would even consider trying to operate a business or factory in the country of Haiti. I mean,
Mhm.
you'd have to be insane if you were a Fortune 500 company. Yeah, let's put a factory in Haiti. I mean, that'd be insane, right?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, just a 2-hour drive to the east, you find yourself in the relatively prosperous country of the Dominican
Mhm.
Republic, where you will find American companies such as General Electric, Johnson and Johnson, Hanes, the underwear and
Yeah.
clothing people, Eaton Electric Controls, and Baxter Scientific with large operations based on, I mean, huge, manufacturing, assembly, production operations. Um, so what do you think is the only difference between those two countries?
Their government.
Well, drilling down deeper and beyond the government, what is their what is their economic systems?
The DR is a capitalist
Dominican
economy.
Republic is a capitalist economy, whereas Haiti has always been a socialist republic, has
Mhm.
always been
Yep.
social. So the only real difference, again, driven by the political, but Dominican Republic decades ago just said, we are going to embrace capitalism as our economic model, while the other adopted a socialist communist economic
Mhm.
model. Now, where the government controls the means of production. So is the capitalism economic model perfect? Far from it. But let's look at some other comparisons.
Mhm.
You can look at North Korea and South Korea, right? You ever
Yeah.
seen the nighttime picture of North Korea, South Korea?
Yeah, with the lights. Yeah.
So you can tell South Korea because there's lights. There's at night, the place is
Mhm.
lit up. There's and by the way, there's if and I've been to South Korea. If you want to go out, if you're in Seoul, South Korea, you want to go out to eat, you probably have 500 restaurants to pick from.
Mhm.
There are no restaurants in North Korea. People are eating bugs. Like last time I looked, 20,000 people a year were dying of malnutrition in North
And again,
Korea.
Korea as a whole is not a very large area. You're
No,
talking
the Korean, yeah,
relatively small.
right.
North Korea, South Korea, not a big.
Right. And if you want another example, look at Cuba and the Bahamas. I
Mhm.
think Cuba to the Bahamas is like 30 miles.
Yeah.
Cuba, by the way, is going through famine right now. People are leaving, unemployment, they've got double
Mhm.
digit unemployment. Bahamas is booming. They got hotels, they have casinos, they got tourism.
Mhm.
And again, same soil, same climate, same ocean. The only different is their economic system. So North Korea, South Korea, Cuba versus Bahamas, Haiti versus Dominican Republic. So again, capitalism is not a perfect economic model, but I'm not aware of anything that's superior to it, unless you know of something that's superior to it.
No, and I think people need to really look at the direction that we are heading as Americans, that there is no incentive for us to get jobs anymore. I can just sit at home and collect a welfare check and an unemployment check, and have, Medicaid
Right. And you could become a porch pirate and still get all those
and
benefits.
still get a porch pirate, yeah, for my,
Right.
to
So you
fill
could
my
collect
spare
all those
time.
benefits and then have a side gig as a porch pirate, which would not diminish any of those other government benefits. Wouldn't that be
Yeah.
the greatest thing in the world?
Yeah, I mean, and that this is kind of the direction that we're heading if we don't,
I
you
know
know,
it's
put our
sad,
foot down.
and we played the first half of that clip about teachers saying how today's kids are becoming almost unteachable. Unfortunately, with very few exceptions, I think we're raising a generation of fast food workers. I'm sorry to say it. Um,
And how I feel about, bad things happen to good people. And in those cases, yeah, public assistance, but for people who just don't want to do it because they're lazy, I'm
yeah,
sorry, get off your bad
no,
ass.
no sympathy. But again, you look at the impact that's going to have on society. I mean, how many fast food workers can this country absorb? Particularly, by the way, when the fast food companies are starting to now um, replace them with automation and robots, right?
Yeah,
So
and you look at even the customer service at some of these fast food places is just non-existent. And I think,
yeah,
we both work in customer service fields where, that is your business and they
right.
don't care. They're making $18 an hour. What do they care? If you're on count.
I,
They don't care. Not their
Boggle,
problem.
yeah, I am sincerely worried about the future of this country. So, all right, let's go on to something even more serious. And again, this is the story I don't believe you heard on the evening news last week. A second American citizen has been murdered by another illegal alien in less than a month. Now, let me tell you let me give you some background on this illegal immigrant. He had been deported at least 8 times. This is according to Ohio's Butler County Sheriff's Office. He had been arrested nearly a dozen times, and he is now facing murder charges following discovery of a man's body in Ohio. His name was Furman Garcia Gutierrez. He's being held in Butler County Jail on charges of aggravated murder, which means premeditated, using weapons while intoxicated, carrying concealed weapons, possession of drugs, and obstructing official business. His first arrest in this country, documented arrest, goes back to 2001. So this guy's been at it for 23 years. He has used at least 7 different names, 3 different birth dates. He's been charged with over that period of time, he's been charged with over 20 other crimes and is also a known gang member.
And why
But
do we
here's,
keep letting
yeah.
him back in the country if he's been deported 8 times?
Well, he sneaks back in. He sneaks back in. That's how, when you have a porous border, that's why we need a wall. Yeah, yeah, he sneaks in.
But when he's been convicted of a felony, why is he not in jail?
Great question, because I have it on very good authority that people in jail cannot murder you. I haven't tested that, but are you aware of anybody in jail murdering anybody on the street?
Not on the street. They murder each other.
In prison, but no, but I'm not aware of any American citizen
Yeah.
being murdered on the street.
I mean, unless you're
By,
part of some like mafioso where you can make a phone call and make a murder happen.
but unfortunately, by the way,
That does happen too. But yeah, for the most part, no, you can't murder people outside of jail.
no. And by the way, we've, a lot of the Democrats will justify doing stuff, but if it would be, it's worth it if it only saved one life. You've heard that, right?
Yeah.
If it would only say, well, here we have, this is becoming a regular thing where, American citizens are being murdered by illegal aliens. So would it be worth it to build the wall and increase border security if it would just save a few dozen lives every year?
Yes, that too. And also putting people in jail who actually commit felonies, keeping them in jail.
Yeah, yes. So here's my question. I watch at least 3 news programs a day. I watch a couple in the morning and at least one in the evening. I never saw that news story on the national news. Did you?
I admit I don't have time to watch that many. I have time to watch one, and no, I did not hear that.
So the question is, why do you think that story didn't make the national news?
I don't know. Who did he kill? That wasn't
Just
newsworthy.
a white guy in Ohio. So the one
Was
in
it because he
Georgia,
was just an average white guy and the girl
average
in
white guy.
Georgia was
Yep, just an average white guy. Now the one in Georgia was a little more gruesome. It's sensational. She was a college student. She had her head bashed in. This was just your average, white Caucasian male. It wasn't newsworthy. So, anyway, so that's the. I'm shaking my head where we're going and why we are letting people. Number one, we need to tighten border security, and when people like this commit crimes, we need to put him in jail for a while. By the way, I don't have the details. Maybe we'll talk about it next week. And a judge in New York City they found 6 people. They were illegal immigrants squatting in the house, and when the cops chased one of the guys in because he had a gun, they didn't have a warrant, but they chased him in a hot pursuit. They found 6 squatters in this house, and the house was loaded with drugs and illegal guns. All right, so they arrest everybody, drugs, illegal guns, in trespassing, squatting in a house. The judge turned all 6 of them free on a no cash bond Friday.
I have a quote, and I don't know who said this quote, but I think it's great, because we're talking about, they're all illegal immigrants are not bad. Some of them legitimately want to come to this country to make a better life, and they're willing to work hard for that better life. Building a wall does not mean you can't be here. Building a wall means use the door.
Use the door.
And
Exactly.
I don't remember who said that, but I saw that quote about a month ago, and I think
Yep.
that's just fabulous. Use the door. Our
Yep.
our ancestors came here through Ellis Island, and they went through the proper channels to come to this country to make a better life for themselves.
Right. And by the way, criminals and people with infectious disease, remember we talked about
Yeah,
the
tuberculosis
people with
last week.
tuberculosis and Ellis Island, some people got turned back because of
Yeah.
infectious diseases or criminal records. All right.
Yeah. So yeah, building a wall doesn't mean you can't be here. Building a wall means use the door and do
Use
it
the door.
properly.
Exactly. All right. By the way, so let's move on to pregnancies. How much time we got?
You have about 10 minutes.
All right. I'll try to make this quick. This is CDC data. This is 25 years from 1997 to 2023. Now, back in 1997, it was sad, but 13% of teenagers were giving birth to babies. 19 and younger, 13% of teenagers were getting pregnant and giving birth. Not just, again, that doesn't count the ones that got pregnant and had an abortion. 13% of teenagers got pregnant and gave birth. That 13% has fallen to 4%, which I think is marvelous, absolutely marvelous. And it used to be that 20 to 24, people were getting married at age 20, they graduate from college and, they got married at 21. They used to, 24% of the women aged 20 to 24 in 1997 were giving birth in 1997. I mean, that's a lot. That's almost a quarter of the women in the 20 that were giving. That has fallen from 24% down to 17%. Here's two that's amazing. 30 to 34, which used to be considered kind of the top end to get pregnant. The percentage of women aged 30 to 34 getting pregnant has grown from 23% to 31%. And here's the real stunner. Ages 35 to 39 has grown from 11% to 17%. Can you imagine that 17% of the babies are being born to women over 35?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, anyway, so that's becoming the, so by the way, so if you combine those two, the 30 to 34 and 35 to 39, age 35 is now kind of like the sweet spot for women giving birth. So it's just just amazing. And by the way,
I'm actually not surprised by these statistics. I've heard this before. Women are putting their careers first before family and getting established first.
Yep. And if you have a kid at age 35, and when your kid graduates from college at age 21, you're going to be 56 when your kid graduates college. Anyway, I know we need to move on real quick. What's a dozen eggs cost out by you?
About $2.50, give or take a few cents.
You want to take a guess what they're costing in California?
$5.
$5.85 a dozen, more than double. And you know what's causing that $5.85 a dozen?
I think they have some weird new regulations out in California because, they have to put regulations on everything.
Well, one, they have this cage free, they have to have, most chickens, you've seen like the turkeys where they're all like in a big pen. And but there's like 100, but they're kind of shoulder to shoulder, but they can walk around. It's not like they can't move, but they're shoulder to shoulder. Well, California passed this thing. They have to be free range, they have to have like, I don't know, 4 or 3 square feet per chicken or whatever it is. And plus you've got the state sales tax. So that's why eggs in California are $5.85 a dozen, more than double what they're.
I believe so. I know in New Jersey, and also I believe this is true in New Jersey, and it's also true in Pennsylvania. There is no tax on eggs.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, well, no, there's no tax on not prepared food. There's tax on prepared food.
All right.
But like most of your grocery store food, your necessities like eggs, there's no tax. I know that's true in Pennsylvania, and I'm pretty sure it's true in New Jersey.
I'm not. I'll have to check that in California, see if eggs are taxed. So how much time we got?
You have about 5 minutes.
All right. So real quick, why do we call him taxpayer relief shot? Here's the sheriff of Santa Rosa County, Florida. He'll tell you why we call them taxpayer relief shots.
somebody's breaking in your house, you're more than welcome to shoot them in Santa Rosa County. We prefer that you do, actually. Hopefully you'll save the taxpayers money.
Now, what if you're a criminal? What is the absolute most stupidest place you could decide to rob?
Police station.
Second most stupidest place.
Somebody that sells guns.
Yeah, I'll give you. Have you ever been in a gun store?
Yeah, many times.
Have you ever been in a gun store where the guys behind the counter weren't wearing guns on their hips?
No, they all carry guns on their hips.
Every gun store I've been in a lot of gun stores. Every gun store I've ever been in, everybody behind the counter is carrying a gun in a holster on their hip. So here's a guy in Georgia who decided it'd be a good idea to try to rob a gun store. So here we go.
In the last hour, police now tell us one of two armed robbers who barged into a Cobb County gun store fired his shots. The owner pulled his own gun and killed one of the robbers, and right now the other's on the run. Channel 2's Ross Cabot live in Mapleton.
Wait. The other's on the run. He left his dead buddy behind. That's
Oh no, that's never happened before.
That's never happened before. The buddy always sticks around, doesn't he? Here we go.
Channel 2's Ross Cabot live in Mapleton with reaction from the store's regular customers. And Ross, they came to the strip mall after hearing of the robbery.
And within the hour, police wrapped up their investigation here at the Veterans Memorial Highway gun shop, turning it back over to its owner. They've been inside cleaning up, getting ready to open up again tomorrow, but you can still see the damage left behind. A lot of folks here, when they heard that apparently one of the armed robbers opened fire, said it only reinforced their belief it put the owner in a horrible situation.
It's just amazing to see somebody try to come into a gun store to rob a gun store. I mean, that was a really unthought out plan.
Police arrived.
An unthought out plan.
Gun and pawn shattered, a masked man dead inside. It was, they later confirmed, a day after Christmas robbery attempt that ended when the store's owner pulled his own gun and fired first.
I heard he was putting up there, getting the merchandise out when they came in on him with mask on. So I think he did what he had to do.
Many who knew the owner and the history at this Veterans Memorial Highway store were not surprised at the stunning attempt to rob the place. Burglars had repeatedly targeted the store, they said, and last year it had burned down in this huge fire.
I mean, this place burnt down one time, the end of it did, and he built back, and he just had a hard time, Jimmy has.
The owner and an employee, along with two customers who were inside the store at the time, they gave statements on the scene. Later, the owner went to police HQ, but was not charged. Most believe that's the way it should be.
I'm glad he's alive, and he is too, I'm sure. Because a lot of times it's the other way around, too many times it's the other way around.
The world has changed. People, way people do people. I mean, it's just, it ain't right.
Well, police say there's a lot of surveillance video about what happened. In fact, some of it shows the suspects fled, and the surviving suspect, I should say, fled in a silver Dodge Magnum heading eastbound on Veterans Memorial Highway. Neither the suspect that was killed here nor the one remaining at large has been identified. We're live in Mapleton. Ross Cabot, Channel 2 Action News.
I love that quote from the one guy. That was a pretty unthought out plan.
Yeah.
All right, we're almost out of time, right?
Yeah, and I have confirmed that eggs are not taxed in the state of New Jersey.
Oh, hang on. Hang on. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So the eggs are not taxed in the state of New Jersey nor in Pennsylvania.
All right. All right. Well, thanks for that. Hey, we're running out of time. Thanks for getting up 30 minutes of your time. If you want to see materials, go to JerzeeJoe.com, JerzeeRZEE, Jerzee Joe website. You want to send me an email? Just send it to joe@JerzeeJoe.com. We welcome your comments, questions, and suggestions. And producer Susan, unless you have something else to add, we'll talk to you next week. Are you all good?
No, go out and enjoy this beautiful day.
I will. You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.